Hello and welcome to another episode of the Betting Bankers. The Europa League is back tonight. It's the first night of European football in quite a while. So there's been two games on already. The early kickoffs today, but the two kind of headline matches are Inter Getafe and Man United against LASK, which are both kicking off pretty much right this minute. So we have a couple of bets picked out, and we're going to watch them along, and hopefully you can watch along and bet along with us. Gary, you were just telling me offline you've got a particular fancy in the goal scorers market tonight. One or two of them, in fact.
Yeah, well, I think that Lukaku was way overpriced. In the Inter game, he's 13-10 anytime. Obviously, the Inter score, he's the most likely scorer. He's 23 in the league this season. Even though Conte has said they're kind of fatigued, I think that's just to kind of put pressure on the owners to give them more money or whatever during summer. But I think they're match fit. They had a good win over Atalanta at the weekend, so there isn't too many negatives about it. So I have that on the big screen here. I'll be cheering on Lukaku. And then I have the Man United game on my laptop here. It's a bit hard to kind of predict that game. Obviously, last night we mentioned that there was a couple of the big players like Fernandes, etc., overpriced. They're actually not starting. So United being 5-0 up. There's really just a reserve team out today for United, like Fred and McTominay, etc., starting in midfield. I'm thinking Lingard might be a bet in the in that game in any time. Like obviously he hasn't scored in quite some time, or he hadn't scored in quite some time until he got that goal against Leicester on last day of the season.
Yeah.
And usually when you get one of those that, kind of have a lot of luck about them, they kind of come like buses then. So, he'd be one that I'd be looking at. He's 16-5 anytime, 9-1 first. So 16-5 is a bit of value. You might only get an hour, depending on how the game's going. They'd be the two I have picked out.
I actually hadn't seen it at the time, but I only saw it maybe a week or two ago. The guy who had Lingard not to score or assist for the whole season.
Oh, yeah.
It was about because he scored very late, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, what a way to lose your bet. I think it was like 91st minute or something like that.
Yeah.
And the last game of the season when United were already kind of in Champions League, like there was no need to score it. But
yeah, because we were watching, in fact, and that most of the other games, or a lot of them, had ended as well.
Yeah, exactly. So just shows the cruelty of the betting world, especially with those kind of long range bets. Where you're waiting a season or so. I've had it with horses in the past where you back something kind of 33-1 early in the season, and let's say for Cheltenham, and he's down to like 6 or 7-1, and then gets injured the week before Cheltenham. So those long range bets can be cruel. In the Inter game, Getafe have actually started really, really well. So Adanovic in goal for Inter had to pull off a really good save in the first minute, and then they had another kind of half chance there in the second minute. So it doesn't look like it's going to be one-way traffic for Inter anyway. But as I said, still be confident enough that the 13-10, kind of 11-8 in some places about Lukaku is value.
For anyone who's thinking to back anything on that game, or who's looking at it, just be aware that it will go to extra time and penalties. So there's no second leg for this one. They've just decided to roll it into one and just let Inter's home advantage be the only game. So just bear that in mind.
It's actually a neutral venue. So they're playing it in Schalke.
Are they? I missed that completely.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to matter hugely.
So like some of the games had their first leg played. So United game was one of those that had the first leg played. Some of the games are on. Like the Wolfsburg game had the first leg played. So where the first leg was played in a non-neutral venue, they've done the other game like in the home leg. So United were away at LASK in the first leg. They're at home today. But because this is kind of a one-game shootout, they brought it to a neutral venue.
That's fair enough, really.
Yeah, and I think all of the other games that are going to be played are going to be in neutral venues as well. As I'm speaking, Mata is on the attack here. If it actually mattered, you'd be going mental at Mata there. It was a 2-on-1, probably 3-on-1, you could say, for United. All you had to do was find the ball across the box to Igalo, and somehow he managed to kick it against the only defender that was getting back. So they might have a corner, but it probably should have been a goal for Igalo early on. If Mata had got the pass to Igalo, there's no chance he misses 1-on-1.
Yeah, it was a complete out of nowhere signing for United, Igalo.
Yeah.
Anyone was expecting it.
But he's like, obviously he hasn't got that much game time, but I think he's done all right for them. He's a different type of player to what they have. I think that's
he's done well indeed. He's been successful. Cittadella and Frosinone is the other game that's on today, and it's actually gone suspended. So I'll jump in there and see what's happening with that one. It was actually
do you know what? I actually completely forgot about that game because
Cittadella have scored already. If you actually remember, we tipped them up last night.
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit disappointed now. I didn't get on them in time. It's a bit distracted with my 9 to 5 here before this one kicked off, and he tipped that. That's actually quite annoying for me now. Just before I was about to go in, they were 13-8, I think, before kickoff. I think Frosinone haven't won a game in about 12 attempts, so that is actually frustrating now in the extreme. But
yeah, as I said, I completely forgot about that game. I've been focusing on the PGA Tour and trying to put some or PGA Championship, trying to put some stats together for that. So I didn't have a chance to look at the Frosinone game.
Oh well, I'll have to leave that one. I looked at both teams to score over 2.5 and Frosinone to win. That not as a combination. You wouldn't, they kind of all supplement each other, but it was a pretty. All of those were outside evens. I think 21 to 20, 23 to 20, and 13 to 8. So it's a bit frustrating, but oh well, you missed them sometimes.
Yeah. Have you any fancies for the golf for the weekend?
Nothing really more than we talked about last night. I haven't looked at it since. I saw you picked out a couple of bets. You've actually put them on even, so.
Yeah, so I've done Henrik Stenson and Tommy Fleetwood. So, as I kind of mentioned yesterday, the stat you're looking for is relatively long off the tee, but accurate off the tee. So you want to have a bit of length about the driving stats, but you don't want someone who's going to spray the ball all over the place. And Fleetwood, he hasn't really played that many rounds this year, but he was self-quarantining in America at Shinnecock Hills, which is a similar setup to the course that they're playing this weekend, Harding. So he should have kind of good preparation for it. And he has the mentality. He's finished kind of up there in a lot of majors in recent years. So a lot of the positives for him. I said the negative is he hasn't got that much competitive golf under his belt. But with 10 places, 35 to 1, I thought he was a good bet. Then, as I mentioned last night, so Stenson played the weekend and he had 62 pars, like in the weekend's golf, which is incredible. And he was being kind of conservative off the tee. I think he was setting his game up for this week. So he's 80 to 1 again. Again, it depends where you go. If you go somewhere like Bet365 where they're probably only playing 7 or 8 places, you'd probably get 100, 125 to 1 on Stenson. But in Paddy Power, Betfair, Sky Bet, who are paying 10, 11 places, he's 80 to 1. So I said I think the both of those should be. They have the heads. They have kind of level heads. They should be somewhere in contention come Sunday. And then once you get to Sunday, anything can happen. So I'll probably have a couple more bets. I said the Byung Han Un or Hun An, who I mentioned last night, he's 90-1, I think it is, for first round leader, playing top 7. So I'll have a small bet on him. And then there's a couple of others that I'm looking at. One that goes against my logic of accuracy would be Phil Mickelson, but I have a soft spot for him. So I'll probably put him in there somewhere, and he's about 66-1. So yeah, I have a little bit more study to do, research to do, but Mickelson will probably make it in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be, I mean, just slightly playing devil's advocate here. You know, you're talking about the metrics that should be included along the way, and like surely that's just included in the prices anyway. You know, like obviously the bookies traders are going to be looking at the same characteristics that you had mentioned there.
Yes and no. Like, I mean,
obviously there's popularity is a big part of it as well. But
that's it. Like, you know, there's popularity, there's form. So, like, you know, like there's players coming in. So if you take Justin Thomas, like, you know, he's gone into world number 1. He won last week, knocking on the door for the weeks before that. And he's only like 9 or 10-1. It's like in golf, because it's such a massive field, you usually get the decent spread of prices, and the bookies know that their liabilities are going to be spread mostly across the book. They're going to have a lot of money on the big guys, like, you know, a lot of British and Irish people are going to be back in the likes of McIlroy, you know, the big names in Europe.
Must be a bookie's dream, really, in that sense, that you know there's people getting back that you can, you know, if from their point of view, kind of rule out, you know, like it gets a lot of money, you spread it around the market. You don't want to have, you know, back in the day, I'd imagine Tiger Woods was taking up, you know, the vast majority of any book. It's kind of a little bit more spread out these days. You'll have people all over.
Yeah, it is more open, and you can see that by, like, back in Tiger Woods days, I don't know the actual stats for it, but I think it was like 250 weeks or something like that. So whatever, what's that, 5 years?
Pretty much, yeah.
Tiger Woods was at number 1. So it was around that. So like, and he was at number 1 the way they do the rankings, that nobody got near him. Whereas if you look in the last 2 years, I'd say there's 10 different golfers who've been world number 1, maybe even more. Even in the last couple of weeks, it's chopped and changed between Thomas, between Brooks Koepka, I forget who else was up there, but there's been a lot of chopping and changing in recent weeks at world number 1, and that just shows that, you know, it is ultra competitive, and that's why I think that's why the concessions, like, you know, 5 years ago, if you were getting 5 or 6 places in a major or in a golf tournament, it was a great concession. Now the bookies have gone to 10, 11 places because they know that, you know, there's probably 30 people lining up the weekend that have a realistic chance of winning, and then you've got the outsiders who aren't that far away either. So, there are a few at bigger prices that, like, you know, I said they add the value in there. So
I was looking at I'm going to butcher his surname now, but Xander Schauffele, or however you say it, he's 18-1. I kind of might back him with the expectation of like a win shout. I know I'd mentioned Ches there for the 100-1 with the 11 places. You know, I wouldn't be exactly confident in him, but I might look at Xander for the win market.
Yeah, so he's from San Diego, and obviously this is in California as well. So there doesn't be that many majors kind of on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So I think the West Coast golfers will be kind of pumped to have one so close to home, and you know, like I wouldn't put you off. Schauffele, he's another one who has the head for it.
That's it. He's kind of a steady Eddie, really, you know. And he's at 18s. I think he's probably. I think it's a good. Like, I mean, 18s for anything is a good price, I suppose. But I think I might put a small bet on him to win. I think the place for Ches is probably the main one I'm looking at. Like I said, I haven't really looked at it since our conversation yesterday. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good tournament though. Like, you know, the last couple of tournaments, so last week, there was probably 10 players separated by like 3 or 4 shots. The week before that, we went to a playoff, I think. So Justin Thomas was beaten in a playoff. There's been a couple of close finishes recently. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if this went to a playoff as well.
Yeah.
Kind of hoping that, we go into Sunday with probably 20 people in contention within 4 or 5 shots, and it's just a shootout. So like, one other thing about the course is that it's a relatively handy putting course. So it wouldn't be up there with the hardest courses in terms of the difficulty of the greens. So really, what you're looking for is, I said, someone who's going to be accurate onto the fairway. And if you look at greens and regulation stats over the season, that should be a good indicator as to who's going to be up there come Sunday. The rough does look pretty punishing. So I think it was Ian Poulter did a Twitter video yesterday. He released it, and he basically dropped 2 balls in the rough. I don't know whether I mentioned this last night or not.
No.
So he dropped 2 balls in the rough, and the way the grass would be cut, kind of one with the grain going against you and one with the grain coming across. So you watch a football match, the dark and the bright lines or whatever. So the rough was cut like that, and where he dropped it into the mowed grass that was facing him, you got a perfect line. He was able to get the club behind it and hit a fairly decent shot. And then 6 inches to the left of it, in where it was mowed against him, you could hardly see the ball.
Right.
And you couldn't get the club behind it. So there's going to be, it seems to be, if you're in the rough, it's a flip of a coin whether you're going to land in a good spot or a bad spot. And the good spots are going to be really good, and you'll get lucky and probably get away with birdies or pars. But the bad spots are going to spell danger. And obviously, if you keep flouting with that lady luck, well, then it's going to come back and bite you eventually. So, especially over a 4-day tournament. So, plus the last thing to mention on the golf is the wind. So like, you think California and you think, oh, it's going to be like 30-degree weather and pretty still.
Yeah.
But actually, kind of unseasonably cold for California and for San Francisco area at the minute. So for obviously UK and Ireland, if you're in, I think it's like 16, 17-degree weather, that's fairly normal for over here. But for over there, that's cold.
Yeah.
And there's going to be up to 10-mile-an-hour winds as well. So if you are spraying the ball about a little bit, the wind could become a factor as well. So that's another thing really to think.
Yeah, Lukaku just went very close there. I'm not sure if you still have that on. Might be a little bit.
I do still have it on, but I've been rambling on so much that I missed it.
Just for the kind of in-play action, Frosinone are absolutely all over Cittadella here. Since they were obviously 1-0 down, but they've had, I think Cittadella are actually flirting with some cards as well. A lot of fouls have gone in, a couple of frees in a row for Frosinone, and a few great chances that have just slipped away from at the last minute. So Frosinone have gone out to about 7 or 8 to 1. They're 15-2 the last time I checked. It's definitely worth considering. I know you'd mentioned Jesse Lingard. He's probably outside. He's probably gone out to about close to 4 to 1, I'd say, for a goal at this stage. And 7 to 1 or 8 to 1 for a Frosinone win. It's just, two kind of juicy odds in play bets to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Another chance here for Cittadella. Yeah, they're actually, Frosinone, I keep saying it wrong. They've been all over them. The only risk is that they'll get overexposed and just get caught on the counter. But this is not going to be double legged. So obviously there's been a change of heart since they'd originally put the fixtures out, and like the Chievo game last night, it's going to go to extra time. If it's a draw. How are Man United getting on?
Yeah, they started all right, but it's kind of just petered out now at the minute.
You get that. You get that a lot with those, first legs that are very comfortable wins.
Yeah. As you said, they don't need to win. They're 5-0 up. And like with the team they have out as well, it's like, they'll take a while to kind of start stringing some passes together. I would say, and get used to each other.
If you can't see, we've just been told that maybe we're not actually visible on YouTube, so that's a bit strange. But I've got a backup channel here, and it tells me that we are. Yeah, could you just talk there? We test the audio, Gary.
What do you want me to say? Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah.
No, I think we're good.
Oh, are we okay? Well, yeah, no, as in United, I think that's why I have the Inter game on the big screen here, because I think it's going to be a better game. United will be fairly lax about this, and even there, like, they were coming up with a decent attack. Again, another simple 5-yard pass that would have had them in, and it was overhit by about 30 yards and went out for a goal kick. So,
seeing as all the games are a bit quiet, we can go into a little bit of detail maybe. And we've talked multiple times in the past about the lasting qualities of Solskjaer as a manager and stuff. And I feel I'm not having to go with him here. 5-0 up in the first leg, it's impossible to motivate your team. But he would probably be hoping to get something out of these guys, as opposed to just have them go out and just kind of trot around like it doesn't matter, because they're going to have presumably they're definitely going through this leg, and then they'll fancy their chances against pretty much any of the teams left in this competition. He'll need to have his full squad available, and you'd hope as a manager that these guys out there today would actually be trying to play their way into the starting 11 or the bench of the 11, as opposed to just take the freebies as they come along.
Well, that's it. Like, United haven't got the strength and depth that City would have, where you become like, you look at City and, I don't know, Sterling gets injured, you've got Mahrez to come in, and you've got you've kind of got quality after quality in the lineup. But whereas with United, they're an injury to kind of Fernandes, Rashford, Pogba, like 3 or 4 really creative players that if one of those gets injured, they're kind of looking to see who'd be the person that will be able to come in. So I agree with you from Solskjaer's perspective. He's probably looking at it saying, go out there and prove to me. At the minute, I said, it's not as if they're disinterested and playing terribly, but like, if they were more clinical, they'd be 2-0 up by now. That way.
Yeah, that's my point. There's nothing that you've seen so far here that you'd be thinking, right, there's nobody in the first 11 that'll be worried about losing their place so far, So you'd be kind of hoping
exactly, yeah. They'll all be fairly content with how it's going, and especially the centre midfielders. You can just see the gulf in class between the likes of, like, I actually think McTominay is a decent little player, but like, you can see McTominay and Fred with Lingard in there. It's a massive difference to having Pogba, Matic, and Fernandes in there. He's like, although I do think that if I was Solskjaer, I'd be looking to get Matic kind of out the door this summer.
That's funny that you're saying that. Like, you're kind of saying Pogba, Matic, and Fernandes. Obviously United fans, like most Premier League fans, are very vocal on social media, and Pogba and Matic would be, they're like Marmite. There's an awful lot of United fans very disliking of both of those players. So obviously Fernandes is as good as untouchable in your first 11. But if, Mata or McTominay could, like, I don't think there's a huge gulf between them and obviously Pogba on paper is one of the best in the world, but he hasn't really hit those heights at United, and you could do enough to give Solskjaer a decision to make. Obviously the other, like I said, Fernandes is going to be the first player on the team sheet every week, but the other two, like you said, Matic could be on his way out of the club. McTominay could be taking that place if he could put his name, or Fred, just basically perform at a bit more consistency, and you might be able to kind of guarantee a spot in the team, or at least a squad. It's strange. I've seen it with other teams over the years, especially Arsenal, when they had, a few over the last 4 years. They've had a few very, extended Europa League runs, the semi-final and final 2 of the years. So a huge amount of games to rotate players in. And there seems to be a kind of something happens with the B players. They just seem to accept that they'll be in the B team and that's kind of it. And
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, good chance here for Inter. Give it.
You're miles ahead of me.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so basically it was Martinez. Is it Lazuro Martinez, isn't it? Lazuro.
Yeah, we've talked about him before. He's a very sort of go for goal kind of player.
Yeah, so he did very well to get into the position, like made it himself, but he could have squared it to Lukaku. Didn't took the shot. In fairness, it was a decent strike. Keeper made a decent save, but the keeper parried it just wide enough that it didn't go into Lukaku's path. So it looked for a second that the keeper was going to just parry it straight out to the edge of the 6-yard box where Lukaku would be able to tap it in. But Inter will take confidence for the fact that they got in that time, you know.
Yeah, I do think that they'll. I see what you mean, very much so. I do think that's going to be something that will kind of give them a lift because they've been quite. I'm not sure how much of an eye you're keeping on it, but a lot of kind of sloppy first time passes was kind of the story the 5 minutes before that. So it'd be kind of maybe it's just a stat or a shot in the leg, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to close that door there because the wind was getting up here in London and causing my lamp to blow around the place.
Yeah. We have talked about Martinez and the tabloids would have regular articles. Is he going to go to Barcelona or PSG or any of these clubs? I just don't think. Well, maybe Barcelona now they might have to. They'll be kind of under pressure this summer, but I think that he doesn't seem to trust his teammates enough, and it's not just this season. He's been like that before, where he'll just if he has half a chance and someone is 6 yards to his left with a nailed on opportunity, he'll always take the half chance.
Here he is again. Oh. Decent shot from outside the box again. So he got the ball about 20 yards out, took a good shot. Keeper made a decent save, but again, keeper parried it, and it's about a yard away from just going straight into Lukaku's path.
Yeah.
But the keeper got a little bit lucky with the parry. Looks like Inter have been given a free kick now in a decent position to get the ball into the box. Yeah, so it's probably about 35 yards out. But it's kind of on the right wing. So there's plenty of room. The keeper is going to have to be strong here because the players are lined up on the 18-yard box, the 18-yard box. So a good ball in, the likes of De Vrij and Brozovic and Lukaku, etc., be attacking it. So
I didn't get a chance. What's that?
That actually Brozovic took the free kick. It went to the back post, and he made a decent save at the back from a shot at the back post.
I did a bet for us as well before kickoff. I didn't have time to tell you about it, but it's Inter to win, both teams to score, which was looking pretty promising early on. It's looking a little bit less likely now as the match has drifted on. The over 10 corners, so that's 11 corners, and Lukaku to score and Martinez to have 2 shots on target. So they're all about even money. So it's about 40.
Martinez 2 shots on target is in anyway.
Yeah, so, and that's what made me think of it when you said the keeper parried it away. It just brought it back to me.
Yeah.
So
it's not a bad position to be in. I think Getafe started fairly well, but they've really gone out of it now. Inter are dominating. So.
But the fact that it's a one-leg match could kind of force the both teams to score aspect of it,
Exactly. Yeah. You probably want the goal before an hour, that way. So it gives the other team the chance to kind of have a good go at getting the goal back.
I'd actually be inclined for a Getafe goal first, even.
Yeah, especially with the Inter to win. Yeah. So
Cittadella have a great chance. Frosinone, have a great chance here. Oh, so Frosinone are absolutely all over them. They've actually come in from 8-1 even to 13-2. they've just been chance after chance. And there was a ball played across the 6-yard box there, and the striker just got past the keeper, but he just couldn't get his foot out to touch it in. But unless they get sucker punched on the counter attack, I'm liking the look of Frosinone here at sort of 6-7-1.
Yeah, one just in play here, looking at it, like I'm not too sure. I'm just checking the prices, but both teams to score in the United game, it's 6-5. I don't think that's a bet. Like, I think United will score at some stage, especially if they bring on some of the big guns in the second half. But LASK have they've hit the crossbar. They had a decent cross into the box there. The guy should have did better with the header. So anybody looking to have an in-play bet, I wouldn't put you off that. As I say, that United are attacking here and could score. No, McTominay just kind of fell over the ball. And he was in acres of space in the 18-yard box, and the ball just kind of got caught under his feet, and he fell over it. So, strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seems to happen. I'm just a bit distracted here by the Inter match, but there's a couple of chances, but it's gone quiet again now.
Yeah, there's a free for Getafe at the minute. It's kind of a similar position to the free that Inter had, where it's a good position to whip the ball into the box. It's got cleared away though by internet, or not by internet, by Inter.
Yeah. Yeah, Frosinone are playing like men possessed here because it's a single leg. They don't get back into this. They're in the Serie B again, so that's obviously a huge motivation for them. It's kind of like the Fulham game last night. If an early goal could really open the game up, but as that game drifts on and nobody scores, it goes the other way around. You don't want to concede then at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mind Lukaku getting a chance or two now. He's been in and around the box, but he's been fairly quiet, So
yeah. My stream is so far behind. That free kick is only coming up now that you mentioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You hear a big yelp out of me, I'll have to stay quiet.
I'm gonna give up on that match and just focus on the Frosinone one.
Yeah, I'm a good bit behind on the United game as well, because that happens when you're streaming it rather than watching it live,
Yeah.
So. But I do think LASK they've been in this game, John. Obviously, if United had their full team out, they'd kind of have no chance. But against this kind of United B team, they've been doing okay. And their confidence is kind of building now that they're starting to get a few chances and a bit of momentum,
Yeah.
Well, here's Lukaku. Shoot. Yes!
Brilliant. So that's 2 legs of my big one in. Great stuff.
What a goal. Go on, Lukaku.
I'll flick over now and I'll catch the build up in about 6 to 7 minutes.
It was actually it was good. Ball from left back just over the top. He's well onside. He does really well to hold off the defender. I thought the chance was kind of gone, but Lukaku on his left foot, he's so good with those kind of chances.
There's few players, maybe him and Giroud are probably the 2 best at holding off players. I remember actually saw him playing for Belgium against Russia. I remember Russia had those 2 centre backs who were brothers. I forget their name. 2 absolute monsters. And Lukaku held the 2 of them off, basically one, then the other, and he just barged through the middle and buried it for Belgium in the European qualifier about 8 years ago. So at the time thinking, this guy is going to be a star.
Yeah.
United and Inter Milan, he's done fairly well.
Or even he was the hero for us back in February when we were at the Milan derby. Do you have the bet that we had on?
I'll dig it out at half time. I still have it for sure.
So the same game multi, but I don't think I've ever got as much value out of a bet as did there. That whole game was just a wave of emotion.
Yeah, we were so into it. The local fans thought we were die-hard Inter fans. going mad for the goals at the end.
Yeah, brilliant.
And he scored, it was like the 94th minute or something like that.
Yeah. It was mad, right? So, like, with my bet, so we did the, so there was 150 on Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, so, like 30 minutes into
United has gone suspended.
30 minutes into the game, we were only getting offered like 60 as a cash out, which seemed ridiculous. I was just looking at it thinking, like, what are Paddy Power at? So yeah, like, I'm glad he scored now, like, but it was weird for Paddy Power to be given that little of a cash out.
The odds do drift mad on anytime goal scorers though. But yeah, that's great for the other bet, yeah.
Yeah, so now we have so in another, I did Lukaku in a double as well with Greenwood, but that was before the teams came out. So when I looked at the bets this morning and I looked at the game, I was like, well, they'll rest some of the big ones, but I thought that Greenwood would start. But I actually, like, I don't even know why he's in the squad today. They did show a picture of him there in a tracksuit, so I hope that's just because he wants to keep warm on the bench. And yeah, he is on the bench, so if he gets on, we need him to score. If not, that leg will just be voided, and then we'll have another winner off Lukaku. So fair play to Romelu for getting those goals in.
Yeah.
Just, when you get one of those bets where you go for any time rather than first, and now you're kind of looking at going, why didn't I go for the green and go for first goals?
What was he for first? He would have been about 3.5 to 1.
I think it was 11 to 4 for first. But like, there was no point in doing that when you could get. So I got 11 to 8 for the first 50 on Paddy Power, and then 100 on at 13. No, sorry. 13 to 10 was the next 100. So I couldn't get it all on at the 11 to 8.
No. What is there a big difference? 11 to 8 and 13 to 10. My maths isn't good enough.
Not really. It was a difference in like £3 or on 50, but better in my pocket than in Paddy Power. So
yeah, for sure. Cittadella are flirting with. I discount if this game is still the way it is at halftime. I might go in and see if there's a same game multi of a red card, and a Frosinone win, or maybe just a red card and over 2.5 goals. Like there was a borderline yellow card foul for a Frosinone free kick, and he went to take the free kick, and the Cittadella fell just kicked the ball away, but the ref had his back to it and just missed it. But that would have absolutely been a yellow card.
Yeah.
So, if the manager, you'd be going through the roof if your player got booked in a match this important for kicking the ball away. But
yeah, exactly. But for your bet there, where it's both teams to score, as you were saying, like Getafe have to come out now and score. That's going to leave them vulnerable to the counter attack. So, I mean, even I don't know what over 2.5 is here, but I'd be looking at that because like Lukaku, the way he went over the top there, there's going to be more space and more opportunities for that to happen. I say United are on a good tack here. Oh my God, how many times they want to have? I think that was Daniel James. Yeah, it was James. Lingard going into the box. He was trying to square it for him, but again, they've done all the hard work. They've got to where it's 2-on-2 now. All it needs is either a shot. He probably should have had a shot on goal himself, but he tried to be clever about it and pass into the box to Lingard, and the defender just got back, so it's gone out for a corner. But
what would you say over 2.5 is in the Inter game?
I'd say it's if I was pricing it up, watching the game, I'd price it up at about 8 to 11, but I'd say it's probably about 10 to 11.
6 to 5.
Jesus. Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of value in that, to be honest. Because, like I said, Getafe have to come out now, so the game should open up a lot more.
And we saw early on. that Getafe have the ability to get behind Inter here. Like, so
that's it. But that's what I'm saying. But like, it wasn't as if it was a closed game, and there was like Getafe had 10 men behind the ball, and Inter were just attacking them. It was fairly end to end. So it's not the worst bet in the world. Just had a text message from a United fan saying, "Is United at 4-6 not a great bet?" And like, to be honest, watching this game, it's far from a great bet. Scott McTominay has just got booked there for like literally hacking a LASK player down. It actually wasn't even, like, I thought it was midfield, but it was actually like 25 yards from the LASK goal. So like totally needless foul, and he deservedly got a yellow card for it. They're just showing the Inter goal back there again. Some finish by
suspended here. I'm miles behind. It's a free kick for Getafe in my feed. Can you see why Inter's gone suspended?
No, Inter.
It's gone. The suspension is gone. So that ghost suspension that seems to be happening more and more these days.
Yeah. Oh, well, it wouldn't have been for that, but I'd say it should be suspended now because an Inter player has gone down holding his head. So I didn't quite see the action, but
it's suspended again now.
Kind of got a little bit of an elbow in the head, but no, it's not a. Conte is crying for a card, but it's not a card.
There's a lot of rumours that Conte will be leaving in the summer, leaving Inter.
Yeah, because like he had a bit of a go at the ownership, or the structures in Italy are always difficult to kind of figure out or whatever. But he basically out to them for like not supporting him in the transfer market. That's what he was saying. He was like, they're going into the Europa League now after a kind of condensed Serie A and they're leggy and things like that, trying to kind of making excuses. And I think he was kind of saying, I don't want to be here if I'm not going to be supported. Yeah. But I'd be surprised if they let him go, considering they're only a point away from winning the Serie, tying Juventus for the Serie A.
Do you know what? They had some miserable results in the season, like the games that we would have even backed them in where they really ought to win and they didn't. And I'd say he knows, Conte, that they're two players, I think, away from winning the league. They need a plan B up front, because that sort of two up top of Lukaku and Martinez is obviously an incredibly effective partnership, and we've just seen Lukaku scoring there. But they don't tend to score goals the way you sort of stereotypically, or that's the wrong word to use, but the way you typically imagine a front two kind of partnership. They don't really score like that. Lukaku scores goals on his own, and Martinez scores goals on his own. So I think if they could get somebody to kind of play off either of them or support Martinez or play off Lukaku, I think that would make an enormous difference, because we've seen games, we back Lazio, a dozen times this season, and quite a lot of times they go 1-0 down and you'd have full faith that they come back into it. Inter are not like that. If it doesn't click for them, they're not, it doesn't click, and they could be in serious trouble, even against kind of mediocre teams. So plan B up front, and then just somebody a bit more creative in the middle. I think if they got the two of those, they'd probably be favourites for the Serie A next season. And I think Conte knows that, so I think that's probably why he's making such a song and dance now about getting that support in. That's my theory, at least.
Yeah, you're probably right about it. And as I said, I can't see the powers that be kind of sacking him, because he does have a lot of support from the fan base, and they won't want to piss those fans off. They're fairly passionate or whatever. So it probably is just all for show at the minute. But I'm looking at it here. So both teams to score in the Frosinone game. So obviously you only need Frosinone to score. that's nearly even money. So it's 20 to 23, and over 2.5 in the Inter game is 11 to 8. So like that's not the worst
Double.
worst bet in the world looking at it. I'm going to go in and see is there anything in the United game that kind of takes my fancy, and I might put that on at half time then if we can get to half time with the same results.
Frosinone have a dangerous throw here. They've got 2, 4, 6 guys in the box for a throw that's close enough to the corner flag. But they are, the over 2.5 in this game is looking. They're going to get more and more adventurous as this clock rolls on. So
what is the over 2.5? Because I was looking at both teams to score, which is Cittadella, Frosinone. Like
over 2.5 is 7 to 5. So I'm just copying the prices from the Inter game.
Yeah, I've actually placed that bet there now. So it is 7 to 1 for over 1.5 goals in the Man United game, over 2.5 in the Inter game, and both teams to score in Cittadella Frosinone. So
nice.
That'll give us an interest for the rest of the evening, considering the job done early.
It's a nice boost.
Yeah. We might have a look through the scorer markets as well in a half time. I wonder
Great chance for Cittadella.
Prices
came to nothing.
Like, a next goal scorer for the players who were on the bench. So looking at it here, I actually haven't priced up. It's weird. Betfair haven't priced up the players on the bench. They've only priced up the players on the pitch.
Frosinone just nearly scored and then conceded on the counter. So Cittadella, so 2-0 Cittadella. That's that. Although this game could now get really, really, either Frosinone throw the towel in or this game is going to get really open. Miserable. Yeah, poor enough defending. Guy raced to the corner of the box and then just stopped up and then just dinked across the goal, and the defender just let it run in front of him, and striker just tapped it inside footed into the goal. Keeper had no chance. So I think that game is now beyond Frosinone, I think.
Yeah, it was a great call by you last night, though.
Yeah, Cittadella were 13 to 8. I sound very disappointed there with that. I kind of have a soft spot for Frosinone, but Cittadella were 13 to 8 last night, and looking like pretty easy money now. They were, unfortunately, I included them in a bet earlier that didn't come off, and I didn't back them on their own, so I don't have anything on it. But they were, a great price. The win markets in the Serie B throw up a lot of value, most weeks. So we're looking forward to late September when that comes back.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be like, Joe, obviously, if there isn't a second wave and sport keeps going as it is, there's going to be some kind of winter of sport with the cycling action. You've got the NFL going to be kicking off.
Speaking of cycling action, that horror crash that we saw earlier today.
Yeah, it was sickening.
Yeah.
That's never nice to see. But cycling's like that, especially with those sprint finishes, Groenewegen, I think he's been disqualified and he should probably get a ban for it because,
it was reckless.
Clearly got the elbow out. You're allowed jockey for position, but he went across the road as well, and I think he knew that Jakobsen had the legs for him, so he kind of put his arm out to block him from going by, and then put him straight into a metal barrier over handlebars. I said the poor Movistar rider, I'm not too sure which Movistar rider it was that was coming behind, but he was probably in about 10th place, didn't have a chance of winning.
It's 2-1. Frosinone just went straight down and scored in the 48th minute.
Oh, nice one.
So, remember we'd actually said last night that this game had gold written all over it.
It opens that game back up as well.
So remember you'd asked me what 2.5, over 2.5 was. It was 7 to 5, and 3 minutes later it's in.
That's 7 to 1 bet now gives, all I need is 2 goals in both of the games that we've been watching. So the Man United and the Inter game. So
I'm disappointed that this match couldn't have gone more how I expected, and I managed to not have anything on it. It's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah. Liam, I'm just going to step away here to get a drink. I'll be back in 1 minute, all right?
Yeah, do you know, I see what you said about the stream, so I'm going to shut the stream down and just restart it because, you know, not to be saying that we expect huge viewerships, but the numbers haven't quite worked anything like any of our recent streams, so I think there might be a little issue here. So I'm just going to put this down.